Hello, Cheeseheads. Welcome to a quick preview with myself and Bren in Brazil. How you doing, Bren?
Good mate, yep. They've just announced that the law banning alcohol sales has just been dropped, so I'm buzzing. Just been picked up some beers, so in a much better mood than I was over the weekend, where I had to sort of rummage at the back of the drinks cabinet to dust off some 5-year-old bottles of vodka that I had stored. But yeah, good, good.
How many seconds did it take from you finding it out until you were down the corner shop?
Literally like a minute. I just literally, yeah, let's record now. And then my wife was like, "Oh, the law's changed." And I'm like, pew! It's like a Brendan-shaped hole in the door as I went to pick up some beers. So
Oh
I've got
well,
my little baby glass
there we go.
and,
Everything is
and
right
some
with the world. If Bren's got his baby glass and his massive, what is it, a Brahma or something?
Brahma, yeah, Brahma
Nice,
duplo mulch, double malt.
nice. Right, we're talking about the Fulham game because we didn't really do much of a preview on the pod at the weekend, so I just thought me and Bren would talk about it today. It's not going to be an easy game, even though Fulham are sort of right, still tenuously in relegation zone. And they gave us a difficult game when we played them earlier in the season, 1-1 draw. Brent, what are you expecting? Are you expecting it to be a tough game at Craven Cottage?
Yeah, it certainly won't be as easy as Burnley was on the weekend, but I think we've got our tails up. So as long as we do bring the game to them, when we played them last time, they did give us a tough game. But if you look at the XG,
Mm,
we since the Burnley game, the last game that we had a better XG was in that Fulham game. We just didn't put them away.
yeah,
We had great chances, but they were competing really well. And probably deserved the draw in the end, based on the second half performance.
yeah.
So yeah, it'll be a tough game. Parker's got them well organised, but I think we've got the firepower to put them away.
I think that's right. I feel like we needed a second goal in that game so badly, and the fact that we didn't get it meant that we kind of allowed them back into the game, and their confidence grew. And then, because wasn't it? It was the goal where Lookman sort of beat Sanchez, or there was a bit of miscommunication, a bit of space, and he managed to get that cross right across perfectly on the guy's head. Yeah, that was rather deflating. But like you say, they gave us a tough game, but I can't imagine it's going to be quite as easy as Burnley. But these teams that are down the bottom of the season, sorry, these teams that are down the bottom of the league, the reason they're there is basically because they're struggling to score goals, aren't they?
Yeah, I think we've said this before that if Fulham had a decent striker, that they'd be far better off than where they are. But you could say that about a lot of teams. You could say that
Mm.
probably about Burnley. So they are in that mix, and it's sort of these next two games are vital for us. We've got Fulham and Palace, and if you think back to the games where we played against them in the last games this season, they're the two frustrating results. I think that we went 1-0 up. So Palace was probably more frustrating. We sat back, we didn't go for that second goal.
Mm.
And with the defenders and the mistakes that they've got in them, it's asking for trouble. So the hope is that we do bring the game to them. If we go 1-0 up, just keep going, keep going. Don't sit back, don't try and protect that 1-0 lead. We don't need to. So fingers crossed that we do go at them.
Yeah. Let's look at some decent Fulham players. We're talking about goals. Cordova Reed, he's their top goal scorer, but again, only with 5. Lookman with 4. Cavallero with 3. And Mitrovic, who a lot of Spurs fans have said we should maybe get as a replacement striker over the years, he's down there with 2. So they are struggling for goals. But a player I really like is Anguissa, and I thought he gave us a really tough time in the first leg, game against them in the season. He's a really combative, strong centre midfielder, and I think if I'm right, he signed for them when they were last in the Prem. Then when they got relegated, he went on loan to Spain, and now he got promoted. He's come back, so he's like, he obviously thinks he's a player. If he's like, oh, I'm not playing the lower divisions, mate, I'll go elsewhere. But so I think the midfield battle with him is going to be tricky, and I think Højbjerg struggled in that first game. But what other one of their players would you sort of think we need to keep an eye on?
Well, if we look back to their last victory, it was a 2-0 win over Everton,
Mm.
and Josh Maja got the goal. He's playing up front for them recently, played in the 0-0 draw with Palace. And people who watched, who remember the Sunderland Till I Die documentary on Netflix, which is, for me, like obviously we're all or nothing people, but it's a great documentary. And Maja was their star player in, I think it was 2 seasons ago, was the season where he really lit up the league, and they were desperately trying to tie him down.
Mm.
And he was sort of very Sol Campbellish, was like, yeah, I'll sign. and then he buggers off to Bordeaux on a big money deal. So he's infamous. He's not very welcome in Sunderland, but he's been getting the goals for them in that game against Everton, and he started up front in their last game. So I think they'll probably go with him up top. Cordova Reed, like I said, only 5 goals, so it's really much of a muchness who they go for up front, and that is where they're struggling.
Yeah, and they're all sort of they look like half decent players. The thing, like Paul Muir, who's on the pod quite regularly, says that he thinks Cordova Reed's a decent player, and in flashes he does look good, but it's that consistency over a season, isn't it? But they could be tricky when we play against them. So from a Spurs perspective, what do you hope we do? I'd just like to point out it was the Fulham game last time when we started with Sissoko as the right winger. I don't know why Jose did it in that game. We had Winks and Højbjerg in the middle, and then he put Sissoko on the right. And then the second half, that was when he changed it around. I think he brought Lamela on. We went to a 4-4-2. He put Vinicius up front for Ndombele. He just thinks, Jose, at the minute, surely what we saw at the weekend, he knows what his best side is now, and I know we've got a couple of games coming up in short succession, but that's the story of the season, isn't it? So what do you think he's going to do against Fulham? Who do you think is going to be our front three?
Well, I think if Bale can take another game in succession, let's go for it. Let's use him. I think that he's had that time now to adapt. We're sort of seeing the Bale now that we thought we'd see in November. But he's at least he's turned up. He's probably at about sort of 65% of what he was when he played for us to 2012 time. Yeah. So I think the most we'll get out of him is sort of 75-80% of that, which is still a great player. So I'm hoping, I'm fairly certain that he will go with that front three of Son, Bale and Kane to bring the game to them. Why not? We've got the players. Bale is showing more in that. The question is who plays the number 10 role. Lucas played there against Burnley, which was a strange one, but he played
mixed results, I thought. Yeah.
I think him and Lamela sort of he does Lamela's running for him. Like when they play together, Lamela has the tenacity and Lucas has the sort of running, and so the number 10 is the one that's sort of I'm wondering who he's going to go for. But the front three, you'd hope that he will go with the Son, Bale and Kane. Now that they are firing, they're going to terrorise defences, and they're going to give Fulham something to think about in defence. And Fulham won't be able to advance as much as they'd like to, bearing in mind the attacking threat that we hold. So I'm hoping that we don't sit back. I'm hoping that we do bring the game to them with the attacking threat that we have. Who plays behind that front three? We just don't know. If he goes with Lucas again, why not? It worked. It worked against Burnley.
Is this not an opportunity to put Dele in there? HG, and we've talked about sort of when to play Ndombele in that role next to Højbjerg instead of Sissoko and maybe being more defensive. Do you think it's a game where we could play Ndombele further back and then put Dele in that position?
Yeah, the question with playing Ndombele in that back, sort of the defensive two of midfield, is it his defensive duties? Is he disciplined enough to do the defensive side of things, or is he just going to leave all of that to Højbjerg? So that's the question. When you play him in that two, does he do enough defensively to justify it? So if he doesn't, then you sort of think, well, maybe it will be Sissoko or maybe Winks, and he does play that more advanced role. But yeah, I don't think Fulham have that much. I mean, they've got Loftus-Cheek, and he's a quality player. So I think maybe he'd be the one to worry about from their midfield. In the Everton game that they won, they did go 4-4-2. So let me check what they did with the Palace game. I think it was 4-4-2 again.
The thing is, they've played loads of formations. I think they played 4-2-3-1. I'm not too sure, but against us, they packed the midfield. Yeah, they played a 5-man midfield, 3 at the back, and then 2 up front. So Parker's not afraid to sort of mix things up a bit. And my concern is that if they do play 3 in the middle, they play like a 5-man midfield, that we might need an extra body in there that's going to do some work. So we might end up with Højbjerg, Sissoko, and one other. I don't know. You just don't know with Josie. I think he maybe overthinks these things sometimes. And I've been saying it all season, us to just go out and say, right, you've got to deal with what we're putting out there, rather than him always sort of tinkering the team, depending on the opponent.
Yeah, so I mean, if he does go with the front three, then that would suggest that he goes with a midfield three. So maybe it is the way to go for a 4-3-3. So that would suggest a sitting sort of two of Højbjerg and Sissoko and Ndombele in that three, but sort of being that connection between the midfield and the front three when we do get the ball. So yeah, you're right. He did back the midfield against us, and he did in their last game. They did play five in midfield. They went 4-2-3-1 with Anguissa and Reed as the sort of more defensive two, and Lookman. They've got two Reeds. They've got a Reed and a Reed, a B Reed and a so yeah, you don't want Jose to overthink things. I think that we've got that front three. Go with it, stick with it, and yeah, probably play at the three-man midfield because I don't think a back three suits us. So I think that the logical step would be going with a 4-3-3.
Fine, and I think the fullbacks pretty much pick themselves, don't they? Just Doherty's been so uninspiring recently. Davies has played a lot of games. I would again like to see Aurier and Reggie on both sides. Yeah,
I think he will. I think Jose knows the importance of this game, so I think he will go with our best side, and they are our best fullbacks. Aurier is probably the most improved, well, obviously Ndombele, but of the defensive players, Aurier has probably been the most improved this season. He's not making as many clangers as before. He's looking a lot more solid. He does get forward. He's got that pace. So I'd say, yeah, he would probably go with Reggie and Aurier. The question is that the central defensive duo, and again, you kind of don't mess with the winning formula.
But he is, Bren. You know he is. You know that he can't help himself. We're going to see Dyer. Dyer will be back in, and he might even be alongside Sanchez, which I think would be a terrible mistake.
Oh, God. Yeah, it's so strange with Jose. And so we've discussed this on the pod. Like, does he do things to prove a point and sacrifice a result to prove a point? And you'd like to think he doesn't do that. So we've seen now the team, like every player on the pitch on Sunday performed well. There wasn't one player that you thought he had a bit of a stinker.
Yeah.
Everyone performed. So stick with it.
Yeah.
Like, stick with the winning team. And Toby and Sanchez, like we've seen all of the highlights really of Sanchez that the club have been tweeting out this week. He played really well.
Yeah.
And so give him that, don't drop him again, give him that confidence. And he has that confidence because he's got someone like Toby alongside him to help him organise, to sort of tell him where to go. Dyer probably doesn't have that level of communication that Toby provides, and that level of security and experience that Toby provides. So why mess with the winning formula?
Yeah, no. I'm with you, Bren. Like I said, I think the only change we really need to make is in that midfield position, and it's the decision whether we play Sissoko or who plays in that number 10. But apart from that, I think the back four, it would be so nice. We haven't played the same back four in 2 consecutive games since the second and third game of the season, which is ludicrous because how is a defence ever going to get to sort of have any communication and that sort of solidity that you need from playing together when they never get the opportunity? It's just too much chopping and changing. So I think now there's not really much between Fulham and Palace in terms of their quality. So I think we should just play our best side today and then maybe make a change at the weekend if we need to. But I think he needs to really start playing his strongest sides. Right, so let's have a prediction then, Bren.
I'm going to go 2-0. I'm fairly confident, and Jose will know the importance of this. We win this and we win Palace, we're right in there again. We have a tough run of games. Our form's dropped off as well. But that win at the weekend and the one against Wolfsberger on Thursday, fair enough, it is Wolfsberger. Fair enough, it is Burnley. But it's working. The players are smiling. They're enjoying their football.
Yeah. So
I think that we'll carry on that momentum. And yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 with Kane, obviously, and probably Bale again. He's looking on fire.
Yeah, you've got to hope that we can carry that momentum forward, and we have to if we're really going to have any ambition of getting in that top 4. We need to start getting our wins under the belt. 13 games left. Can we do it? Let us know, Cheeseheads. Give us your predictions in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell. And also, you can probably see our Patreon at the bottom. If you want to support the Cheese Room anyway, then please join us at patreon.com/the Cheese Room Podcast. Right, Bren. I will. Well, no, you're doing a preview, aren't you? Pod. Sorry, a review pod. What am I talking about?
Yeah, I'll be doing a review tomorrow night, Thursday night, with Jamie Weir from Sky Sports News, and
Nice.
Paula and another, who I'm still working on. So yeah, it's going to be hopefully another positive win review. So do listen out for that, and there'll be a bonus episode coming out a day or two after.
Who's on the bonus episode? It's Flav, yeah.
Bonus episode is Flav from the Fighting Cock, Gary Stevens, obviously
Nice.
our UEFA Cup winning legend, and Abby Summers, who is probably the only person that I know that's actually going to the games. So I'm going to ask her what it's like, because she's going there for Sony Sports. So I'm going to ask her what it's like to be at the Spurs Stadium without fans there, what it's like from the for a journalist sort of experience, because she's obviously new to that. It's not her profession, so she's new to that, and also sort of get her take on what she hears from the bench and from the players, like because there's no crowd, so you get to hear everything. So I'm looking forward to chatting with her about that, and obviously with Gary Stevens and Flav as well. So it'll be a good bonus episode for the Cheeseheads.
Yeah, it'd be good to have Flav on, and we've not heard from Gary for a long time, and even though he's not replying to my WhatsApp messages, I'm glad he replied to yours, Brent. Point that out to him. Point that out to him. Make him feel bad.
I think it's because we were born in the same hospital, so we have a connection.
All right, whatever. You and your connections. All right, Bren. Cheers for your time, mate. Enjoy the rest of your beers and enjoy the hot weather.
Cheers, buddy. Speak to you soon.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.